We've been rocking since the Sandbox, man. Stop playing with my dog, Scuba Steve. He the man, got plans, bro, to give him what you need. Hot damn, from the court to the field, they elite. I'm saying why, yes, got the hot takes and loose, stay checking. Talking about all the highlights from alleys to interceptions, from tutties to dope receptions and fantasy week projections. And honestly think you gotta tune in to get the message. Let's go.
Since the Sandbox fans, we are back with the Meet the People series, and we have our special friend, head chef Anthony Pino in the building today. Pino, we were just with you in the North End, but say what's up to the people in the Sandbox.
What's up, everyone? Glad to be here. I've been waiting for a long time to get on with these guys. Yeah. We talked about it so many times, and finally actually got to make the time to do it. I'm happy.
That's right. No, thank you for taking the time. We know in your busy schedule, you know, all the sacrifices that come with it. So you've been a big supporter since the Sandbox for the past couple of years.
Of course, love you guys.
Yeah, and I mean, this dates back way back when. Kev was literally talking the other day when he dropped 49 on the Red Devils versus the Panthers.
He did. It was a double OT thriller, but he beat us.
Oh, shit. No, but those are, you know, the times that we always look back on and are very thankful for. But, Pino, just in case anybody, you know, doesn't recognize you from Boston or outside of Boston, they're listening to the podcast. Sure. Do you mind, you know, just telling everybody, you know, who you are and what you do?
For sure. So my name's Anthony Pino, born and raised in Eastie. I got the T-shirt from these guys to prove it. I grew up in Eastie, became a chef, you know, at a young age. I started working in restaurants when I was younger, and loved it, and now I run the Cunard Tavern back on my old block in Eastie, right on Webster Street, where I used to grow up. And I just have a lot of fun, you know, coming back to my old town for my job every day, and you know, being a part of the community still that I grew up in, and you know, just love it.
Absolutely. No, and thank you for that. I feel like East Boston's such a unique place because so many people take pride in coming back to Eastie, giving back to Eastie, and just being a part of it. I feel like, you know, a lot of places now, like especially where you live, like people just move because of jobs or whatever, and they're not as passionate about where they come from. But, you know, we'll get on through the episode and obviously, you know, show multiple ways of how you showed, you know, your Eastie pride. But before we do, Pino, we were just on the couch, you know, watching whatever was on the TV, and, you know, we always think about, you know, the sacrifices that it takes, you know, to put on, you know, professionally, and, you know, your family takes, you know, big sacrifices. You talk about, you know, missing some times with your kids, you know,
for sure.
and you know, just always want to shine some light to that. So shout out to the family at home.
The number one person I got to shout out is my wife, because she deals with, like, I tell her all the time, I'm like, being the chef's wife is like being a single mom. You know? She's got to take the kids to every practice, every game. Like, and if I'm lucky, I can squeeze out to get like the first half before I got to run off to work.
That's right.
So, you know, obviously she's the number one. My kids are great. I mean, they always, you know, jump in anytime I ask them, like, hey, do you want to do something? They like always want to jump in because they know, you know, I'm at work all night every night. So I get home, they're already in bed. Yeah. You know, sometimes when they're getting up to leave for school, I can't even get out of bed yet because I got home at 2. So I'm like, have a great day at school, right back to sleep. So, like, you know, when I do have the time, like I was talking about Steve yesterday, I had my kid tagging along with me all day yesterday. And it's just, you know, it's a lot of fun to be able to share time with them and stuff like that. You know, my mom, my brother, they help out all the time when they can too. And it's just, you know, it's about making the most of the time you do have, not worrying about like how little the time it is.
Absolutely. And shout out to Marty. I mean, Marty, one of the most creative dudes we saw growing up. I mean, we got to think back to you know, that design, the G-Tag Savio table that he had he started.
Marty was my first guitar teacher.
Was he? Yep. Oh, shit. Awesome. Cousin Marty.
Sparked the musician inside me.
Yeah.
Me and Gator took guitar lessons. The only 2 lefty guitar players in East.
Wow, huh? That's some pride right there. But Pino, you know, we're going to get into the episode right now, and obviously, you know, the title head chef at Cunard, you know, it took a lot of time to, you know, really get that praise. So, you know, just want to know, you know, when did becoming a chef really, you know, become a thing for you?
So I mean, in high school, I worked at my uncle's pizza place in Winthrop called Italian Joe's at the time. You know, my cousin Bobby, his dad. Yep. So we worked there, my brother and I just really got into cooking. Like, I started trying to play around with different stuff, and everybody was like, you know, just shut up and make pizza. Like, this is a pizza place, just chill out. But I actually got into BU. I got into BU on a scholarship from Savio, and I went there for a year. The one good thing that came out of that is I met my wife. Otherwise, you know, I was just like, this isn't for me. It's not the place for me. I really wanted to do the restaurant thing. So I went down to Johnson & Wales. You know, I told my parents, like, hey, I really just want to become a chef. And they were like, we support you. Go for it. And I went down to Johnson & Wales. I ended up getting a culinary degree, a restaurant management degree. Started working doing, like, high-end airline catering. I did, you know, like, a luxury retirement community for a while, and this opportunity popped up, and just through people I knew in Eastie, Phil Frateroli, who's the owner of the whole restaurant group, he got in touch with some people I knew from Eastie, and they were like, hey, that place you're opening, Cunard Tavern, we know a guy who's a chef who's like from that street. Like it's like 10 houses down. He's like, he might want to come and he might be good at it. So I met up with Phil, and we clicked. Everything worked out great, and I've been working for the guy since. And he's a good guy to work for. He's he's good to my family, and I think we've had a great time together. We've been open almost 6 years now. The place is kind of like on the map now, and we've had a great time. It's working out good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I would definitely say, hopping over to Cunard, you guys got the roof deck, you got the dope sign in Cunard every single time I'm in there. Pino's always taking care of us, so we always appreciate that.
Always welcome.
But Pino, getting into, more of the culinary side and just trying to understand, like, we know your background. You're Italian from Eastie, from Boston, but a chef always has things that they like to cook, right? I want to know, what's the famous Anthony Pino dish?
So for me now, like, I grew up eating Italian, cooking Italian. The place that we're at now, every other restaurant in the group is Italian.
Yeah.
So we want to go like the complete opposite direction a lot of the time to kind of just separate ourselves. So I'm definitely known for more like burgers, pub food, tacos, like chicken and waffles, like all kinds of stuff like that. That's what people come in for. And
chicken and waffles go crazy.
Yeah, so I need to pause there because anyone that knows me knows I'm a chicken and waffles connoisseur.
Kev eats chicken and waffle cereal.
It's my favorite meal. I've been to the Roscoe's. I've been to Aldi. I had my diner show back in the day. Yeah. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not just saying this because you're my cousin. Not saying this because you're on the show. But by far the best chicken and waffles I've had. That's the only thing I get when I go there. I go there 9 o'clock at night, I'm getting chicken and waffles.
That and the pulled pork egg rolls. Those are huge.
See, so it's better for you guys to tell me what I'm known for than me to tell you what I'm known for. So you guys have tried it, and you know what we do over there.
But anything that you're really passionate about, that like when you cook, when you make, you're just like, wow, like this reminds me of like home.
I mean, for me, I love doing like slow cooked braised, like short ribs, like lamb shanks, ossobuco, like something like that. You brown off in a pan, add whatever you're gonna cook it in, wine or like beer, whatever kind of stock, and then just throw it in the oven and like just wait and smell the house for like 2 hours.
I love that.
And then like with 2.5 hours when it's ready, you go and you can eat it with a spoon. It's so tender, and then like you use the stock that's in that pot, reduce it down, make your sauce out of that, and everything's just like perfect, So like it's just one of those things that takes a little patience. But I mean, this is the kind of dishes that I can teach. I can teach anybody to make that kind of stuff because it's really just like time and patience.
I was gonna say, it's more
time, and then it is like a little skill thing. So like especially if I'm working all day, where everything we're doing is like quick, like chicken and waffles. It's like fry it, make the waffles, see you later. Burgers, steaks, we're putting them on the grill, make sure they pull off right at the right temperature and out. When I want to cook something home, I just want to like take my time. I can sit and open a bottle of wine while the cooks, stuff like that. And it's more of like brings back like that love of cooking for me and makes it more like something I want to share with people.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, really cool. I mean, Kev, I knew we had to dive in there, but Kev really is the chicken and waffle guy. We'll eat it straight out of the bowl with some milk. Kev, what do you got for the cereal in there?
Chicken and waffles.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
I'm telling you, I love it.
It's amazing.
Oh, my God.
I got to try a bowl. I got to try a bowl.
Nothing like yours. But, Pino, you're always preparing food and making people smile with the plates that you create.
Sure.
What's your favorite food to eat? Do you have a favorite ingredient, meat, pasta plate, dessert, appetizer? We want to hear it all.
For sure. I mean, so for me, like, there's every cuisine that you can think of has, like, that perfect bite dish. Like, for Italian food, it's pizza. It's, like, the perfect bite. You got crispy, you got salty, you got sweet, you got cheese, creamy, it's all in one bite. And, like, all the different cuisines have that, like... For like a Mexican cuisine, it's like, an enchilada. It's like all perfect in there, burrito, something like that. But like, I like trying to find like those different like perfect bites, like going to New Orleans and walking around looking for like a gumbo that's going to be like that perfect bite with everything balanced,
Uncle Billy's gumbo.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
So like things like that. I mean, like cannolis, that brings me right back to growing up, the Sicilian style with a little bit of like orange peel grated in it to give it a little citrus on top of the creamy and the crunchy. But like there's like those perfect bites in every cuisine, so like I was just really kind of like looking for those. For me, for New England cuisine, there's two of them. It's lobster rolls, because you got the the crispy bun and then the perfect like creamy, cold and citrusy lobster, and like the sweetness of the lobster is bomb. And then fried clams. I love fried whole belly clams, dip them in tartar sauce, and it's like okay, this is the thing they hit. Like, so there's some, even like a fresh oyster, like the things that they hit in Eastie, I mean, not necessarily in Eastie, but in New England altogether, it's like, you know, those perfect seafoods. And a lot of those cuisines, it's like, you got to find the thing that's growing in your region, or that's native to your region, and then use it when it's at its freshest, at its best. Yeah. And for us here, it's seafood.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I'm just getting hungry talking about all this stuff. Honestly,
I should have brought my knife kit.
Honestly, but lobster rolls and that type of seafood is definitely, you know, New England to a T, and especially, you know, where you have to, you know, study the foods and make all those combinations of the citrus and, you know, what complements, you know, the meal.
Studying foods, you know, it's a tough gig.
Yeah. I can imagine.
There's worse things out there to do, trust me.
Oh, shit. But, Pino, what about, you know, a dessert or an appetizer? I know, you know, preparing food is always so different.
Yeah.
Would you say, you know, as a chef that you have a favorite, you know, dessert that you like to create?
I mean, for desserts that I like to make, I love making bread pudding. A lot of chefs go back to that because it's super easy.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of desserts and baking is more like chefs, we look at ourselves as like an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Pastry guys look at themselves as like a chemist or a scientist, you know, because everything's got to be perfect. If you don't get the exact right amount of butter at the exact right temperature, the dough's not going to come out perfect and you're going to have something wrong. For chefs, bread pudding's easy because you just throw the eggs, the cream, the vanilla, and the sugar in the bowl, whip it out, bread. You know, so like I like doing things with like seasonal ingredients to make bread pudding. We always have like some kind of bread pudding on. Right now we got like a caramel apple one. Wow. We'll do like a pumpkin one or like butternut squash, you know, stuff like that. And for me as a chef, it's like I can pull this off every time. I don't have to be sitting there with like test tubes measuring out the right amount of baking powder. Because, you know, for me, recipes, like I try to give them to my staff so they know what they're doing. But they watch me make it once, and my guys are good. Like they know everybody. Yeah, they taste it, and the way that they know it's right is they taste it. They look at the color, they look at the texture, and like, okay, we did it. Good, you know, so it's a lot easier to have someone kind of watch you do it than it is to write a recipe. So that's why I like bread pudding for a dessert. For an appetizer, my favorite thing is arancini.
Oh, yeah, we go.
Everywhere. That's just another thing from growing up. My nonna always made those. It was like, you know, traditional Sicilian thing. She would use leftover risotto the next day, and whatever she had made the night before was chopped up with some peas and sausage. It's in there, you know. So those were like that to me. Just brings back memories right away. I try to make like all kinds of different ones at the restaurant and get them in the mix for like appetizers. Some people get them, some people don't. But it's like, for me, it's like just like seeing it come out of the fryer and like getting the smell of like the breadcrumbs cooking. Like I just think of like cutlets, arancini, like anything that you have fried with breadcrumbs on it. You know right away the smell in the house.
Absolutely.
So that's definitely a good one for me.
No, that's awesome. And Pino, you know, you just talked about, you know, a little bit of the chefs that you work with at Cunard, and you know, Cunard obviously has some sister restaurants. But before we dive into, you know, the sister restaurants and just learn a little bit more about that, you know, anyone you want to maybe shout out specifically as part of the team at Cunard? I know it takes, you know, a village to really put that on together. So feel free.
Just from the get-go, I had a bar manager there, Joe Camiolo. He's another Eastie kid. Yeah. He's now running Pine Bar, is one of Cunard's sister places, but I worked with him for years. I got another guy who's from Eastie, Ronnie Dean, who's running the bar program now. Our sous chef is Nikki Brangiforti.
Shout out Nikki
Brand.
Yeah, her dad's the principal of Eastie, so there's not you don't get really more Eastie than that. But you know, we've she started working with me as a high school kid, and now has worked her way up to be our sous chef, and you know, it's awesome to be able to like train somebody on to like, you know, be there when I'm gone.
Right. Someone
there's another Eastie kid who could keep the place going the way that I, you know, started to try to build it and then put their own twist on it and make it even better, you know.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's incredible. Now, the sister restaurants, we were just talking about that at the beginning of the episode. We're over at Filippo's in Ducali in the North End, but, you know, feel free to, you know, talk about what they do so well and why, you know, Filippo's has been, you know, such an existing presence in Boston in the North End specifically.
I mean, Filippo himself is like an icon. You know, like if you were famous and you came to Boston between like 1980 and like 1995, like you were in his restaurant. Filippo. There's a picture of
on
you
the wall
with Filippo in the restaurant. He's like he's got everyone in there from like former presidents to like the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah,
like,
legit.
Every time I'm walking through there, I'm like, Filippo, we got to make this like an Instagram page. It's like pictures with Chef Filippo. Like it's amazing. So I mean, from him, his son Phil, who's my direct boss, he owns Ducali Pizza, which is like perfect, authentic Italian pizza. He's got a pizza oven that they had custom built and brought over from Italy.
Wow.
The things like I love when I get to like go over there for a day and work on it because it's just like the coolest thing. It's like a new toy for a chef. You don't get to play with that. But Ducali's amazing. If you're going to like the Garden for a game, go in there, get a pizza. They got a great craft beer selection. They got some Italian beer. It's unbelievable. And then obviously Lucia. They have Lucia in Boston and in Winchester. It's like the classic Italian, like North End. You know, it's on Hanover Street. It's amazing. And when they got their outdoor patio in the summer, like that's the place to go.
Yeah.
And then we just opened up the Pine Bar. I run the beer program at the Pine Bar. Joe runs everything else as far as like the cocktails and the wine program and everything. But it's all New England products. We only, inside the Boston Public Market, we only source New England products, New England made whiskeys, vodkas, beer, everything. So
where is the Pine Bar?
It's right inside the Boston Public Market. It's downstairs from Haymarket Garage or upstairs from Haymarket Station.
Okay.
You know, so it's like convenient to, you know, if you're going out in the city for a night, go there, park your car, grab a couple drinks.
See Joey Cams.
Go see Joe Cams. Listen to him tell you 100 tall tales.
Had some good nights with him at the
go from there. You know?
Oh, man. No, that's awesome. And I feel like having a place like Cunard in East Boston at today's day and age is so beneficial, right? Because you have, you know, your Eastie ties there, but definitely with more of like that modern taste on what food is now. And I feel like you have to, you know, kind of cater towards what the area is now, and you definitely still have, you know, your religious Eastie goers that'll pop in all the time. But with the new demographic, and especially with all, you know, the development that's going on right behind you guys, like business has to be booming.
It's great. I mean, it's good. We got building customers everywhere.
Yeah.
So they keep putting up condo buildings right behind us.
Right.
It doesn't hurt for us.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like we like to be the kind of place where everyone's welcome. Like the guys who grew up in Eastie could be sitting at the bar with guys who moved in 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And I want like our bar staff to like facilitate a conversation,
right?
You know, and make it so that this is the place where like they feel welcome, and the guys who have been there for years don't feel like pushed out.
Yeah,
you know, everybody can feel like, all right, we can hang out here. There's somebody here I can connect to. There's some dish here I can connect to. There's some drink here I'm gonna love, and then you can, you know, kind of share what Eastie is with people who are just here, and let those people share what they're bringing to the table to the new Eastie, you know. So it's like I like to kind of think of us as like a landing point, which is awesome because we're like a block away from what was like the biggest landing point for immigrants into the U.S. other than Ellis Island.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like right there on the point was like where tons and tons of people came into the U.S. and there's been like a million different cultures in Eastie. So like I just like it feels good to kind of be like that that meeting spot for the next generation.
Absolutely. Now Pino, we're getting to Chopped, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You had a little Chopped experience.
Yeah.
I have to share. Me and Danielle, Kev will tell you, we're always watching, you know, the Food Network. Oh, yeah. So I'm not a chef, but I do my best to learn while I'm watching. But also, it's just like, who doesn't appreciate, you know, a nice cooked meal? And, you know, the challenges that they put into it are crazy. And I'm interested to hear, you know, what that was like firsthand. But feel free to go into the competition and, you know, what it really meant to you.
I mean, for years, I had talked about, like, you know, my wife, she'd be like, oh, you should try out for this show. You should try out for this show. I said, the only one I want to actually go on is Chopped. Because I'm watching all these shows, and a lot of them are nuts. They're like, all right, with 10 minutes left, they're like shutting your heat off and stuff. It's like, all right, come on. Like, this is not a test of who can cook the best. This is like just mayhem. It's like TV entertainment. So I always said I wanted to go on Chopped because it looked like, you know, like this is like a real test of skill. Like, you know, there's like, everybody's got the same thing. Everybody's got the same amount of time. So it's like, you know, like a real test. And so finally I got the chance to go on. You know, I sent like a tryout video and like it worked out. And it's totally real. Like, I know people like watch that show and they're like, there's no way they could do that in 20 minutes. It's like, it is real. You open the box and the facial expression that they got is real because we probably had like 20 minutes and like 40 seconds because each round they would take a shot of the camera right in your face as you open the basket and then do the next guy as he opened his basket. Yeah. So like if you open your basket first, you could stop thinking. Like you had like 30 seconds to be like, all right, I can put that with this, I can do that, you know. So but it was cool. I mean, it was so much fun. The show was the real deal. They were really good to me. I didn't win, but like, you know, I'm hoping to be able to get back on there someday and give it another shot. Yeah. But it was just like, you know, just being able to like show my face on the Food Network for a minute. I was like, that's like, it's just cool. Like, you know, you gotta be appreciative of what you got.
Yeah, and you definitely put on, you know, for the Pino family. You put on for Eastie. I know that was such, you know, a motivating factor for you.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, in the competition. I feel like, you know, even though you get dealt with a specific amount of ingredients in a short amount of time, I feel like that really, you know, caters to who you are and your creativity, you know, in cuisine. But, you know, I want you to talk about, you know, the competition. Were you going against, you know, other Boston chefs?
No, it was chefs from all over. I mean, there was a guy from New York. There was someone from Philly. There was someone from Virginia. And it was just like, they actually, what's funny is they picked me because I showed them a picture of the chicken and waffles.
The famous Pino chicken and waffles.
And the episode was fries and thighs, so every round had to have something fried, and every basket had a thigh of something. So the first thing we did was frog legs, so it was wild. And we actually put them on like a beer dinner menu later on and let people try them out. But it was like, for me, like I kept talking about Eastie because every time they were like, oh, it's chefs from Boston. I was like, no, East Boston. Like, what difference does it make? I'm like,
it makes a
there's
difference.
been like 10 chefs from Boston on Chopped. Like, there hasn't been one from Eastie yet, so I want to keep saying that so people know I was the first one to come on. But it's been, it was a lot of fun. It's, like I said, just being able to like show off what I can do to a bigger audience is like kind of cool. And every once in a while they'll rerun the episode and people will come in from other towns and they're flying into the airport and be like, oh, we saw you on Chopped, so we want to check the place out. I'm like, all right, great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And guys, every single time, you're walking into Cunard, Pino's always, one of the first people to greet you. Even if, one of his hostess or waiters, waitresses seat you guys, Pino's coming in, checking what you're doing. So that's always something that you appreciate when you get that, when you're going out and dining. It definitely makes a difference. And, Pino, is it really, stressful, like, when that's going on?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely stress in the restaurant, but like, I try to like make it an environment where I'm not one of those like Gordon Ramsay yelling, screaming, and throwing stuff around chefs. I'm definitely more of like a collaborative kind of person anyway. So like, I want everyone to like be knowledgeable what they're doing and be able to like execute themselves. So like, if I can teach everybody to know exactly what they're supposed to do, then it's just on me to like kind of oversee. Like I look at myself as like the head coach.
Yeah,
and
it makes your job easier. You don't have to micromanage.
And then I'm able to like kind of push everyone in the right direction of where they're supposed to go. My job's really to get everyone flowing in the right direction.
Right.
And then like I jump in everywhere. So like you said, you see me in the front sometimes. If the bartenders get behind, I don't mind grabbing ice, making a drink, and like trying to like chat people up at the bar so that they got time to make drinks. You don't notice how long a drink's taking if I'm talking to you.
Yeah, right.
So the same thing. Like if there's something going on in the kitchen, I'll jump on any station and help people out. But you got to be like that. Like otherwise, you're just gonna get so stressed and burnt out. I'm 40 years old. I wouldn't be in this industry anymore if I was like a yelling, screaming guy. I'd be done.
Yeah,
I'd be trying to like find a job where I could just sit down all day.
Right.
But like I still enjoy what I do because I try to make that environment like a place that I want to be. Yeah. So then everybody else actually wants to be there too.
For sure. Now before we get into a little bit of more in depth of East Boston, is the Chopped like scene environment, is it really competitive or is it more of just like a flustering type of thing?
So I mean, it's definitely competitive. Like everybody on you want to win $10,000 and you want to be like. I think as much as people want the $10,000 for winning,
about the title.
They want to tell people, they want to go home and say, "I was a Chopped champion."
Yeah.
Like so it's like in fantasy, like you want the money for winning a fantasy football championship, you want the belt or the trophy too to shove in people's faces.
Yeah.
So like it was competitive. I tried to like be friendly with the other guys that I was on. A couple of them like followed me on Instagram. We like chat back and forth a little bit, but. It's just one of those things where like it's going to be your personality. So like if you are going to be able to talk to people, you're going to like chat people up in between the rounds. And if you're going to be like somebody's like going to be Kobe and be like the stone faced killer in the corner, like not talking to nobody. It's like, all right, that's you.
Yeah,
that's
whatever.
cool.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still going to ask you if you see the game last night. Like it's all right. But you just got to kind of just fit in with the other personalities. But yeah, I mean it's definitely like to me like there's that kind of stress where like. There's real stress where it's like, oh my God, am I going to make rent this month? Yeah. And then there's like fun stress, which is like, okay, I'm up with 2 outs in the ninth.
Yeah.
And that's
We're
like
make
fun
this
stress.
Happen.
That's like, all right, I got a chance to do something here. There's the stress like at the free throw line and I got to tie the game.
Yeah.
Like that's like fun stress. So that's what Chopped was like to me. It was like that kind of like it brought back like that sports stress, which I was missing for years because I'm old. Sure. I don't play anymore. So
I'm sure you still got that jump shot, Pino.
I'll sneak one in every once in a while.
Oh man! But as a big part of Sandbox, guys, we're involved in our community. We're engraved in our community, and community is such an important part of us. And Pino, not just for you, but for generations in your family, community's been such an important part. So you guys have had an existing presence in East Boston, for decades. I just want you to share, your thoughts on East Boston and what East Boston really means to you.
Yeah, for sure. So my grandparents moved to Eastie from Sicily, and they got off a boat like 2 feet from Webster Street, walked 2 blocks, and we're like, this is a good spot. We'll stay here. It's like, you couldn't have picked like Miami or San Diego. So, no, all right, we'll do Eastie. It was minus 12 degrees this week. That's all right.
And then 50 the next day, right?
Yeah, exactly. But, my dad, growing up, he had an ice cream shop in Eastie. He ran youth sports programs. My mom and dad actually met at the East Boston Social Center when they were both working there with kids. They ran the camps together for years. My mom was the director, and my dad, did every other nonsense thing, like playing songs and telling campfire stories.
Yeah.
They always had a big impact impact. My dad started the youth basketball league with Johnny Forbes, Mike Gator, Bob Olson,
legends of East
like
Boston.
40-something years ago, and they started in the Point, moved it up to the Heights Gym, which is now the Marty Pino Center, which is like still mind-blowing to me that like my dad's name's on a building in Boston. So it's really cool to me, and like you guys played in the league.
That's right.
This was years later.
I played in the league.
This guy.
I mean, Kev beat us in the championship. We'll just get it out there. We know. But it was, and he's even wearing the Savio basketball jersey to rub
all
in
the
my
old
face.
school Eastie heads had to pull out the Savio.
So I mean, it was in my like generation, we just called it the Saturday League. Mm-hmm. I know it's the EBYBL, but it was the Saturday League for us. And like, I played in it when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, I got pictures of you in my room.
Do you really? That's awesome.
I got my mother's picture.
You gotta be careful what you're doing with those pictures. Awesome.
Hey, so your uncle Bobby.
Yeah.
I broke my ankle in the Saturday League, and we weren't allowed to play at Savio.
Yeah,
we weren't allowed to play.
Pissed.
So I go to see your Uncle Bobby at practice the next day, and I'm trying to like practice, and I had like an ankle, like a thing over my ankle, and I'm like struck. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I think I like tweaked my ankle and I'll like play with my dog in the yard." And he's like, he 100% knows. He's just looking at me like,
he knows.
You weren't playing with your dog. I was like, no, I swear I was playing with my dog. And he was like, all right, just sit it out. But I was like, I got to come clean. Coach, I broke my leg playing in the Saturday League. I'm sorry. I know it was 20-something years ago, but I'm sorry.
Oh, man.
But yeah, it was, so like you guys played in the league. It was always like kind of like even for kids who weren't like great, like you guys were good, but there was kids who weren't great at basketball. Like just like we always just kind of make it like an inclusive league until the playoffs, and then everything gets cutthroat.
Right. Yeah.
But like, we try to give people like a chance to learn the game. And it wasn't even as much of like basketball as it was like learning to like be a person, like work as a team, work together through basketball. So like we used basketball as our tool because we could draw people in who want to play basketball, and then just you get an hour, 2 hours with a kid every week, and you could actually try to make a difference and like talk to them about being a person a little more than basketball. And I love like there's tons of kids who used to play in that league who find me on like social media and stuff, and I just love seeing what everyone's doing because so many of you guys like have gone on to like great things, and it's awesome. It's a good thing to see.
No, I would definitely agree. And when we're growing up, we're 10, 11, 12 years old, playing in that league, like you think like, oh, you're starting to see, some familiar faces. You might see them at like the Boys and Girls Club or like just around East Boston. But a lot of those guys, you either competed against in high school or you competed with, So that's definitely something that, at a young age, I love being introduced to. And I feel like that, connection and value of sports is so different back then than it is nowadays. I mean, you definitely have, I feel like less of interest in sports, just with, the development of all the tech, the video games, the iPads, this and that. Like we were lucky if we got an iPod Nano that had like 500 songs on it. You know what I'm saying? So definitely different times growing up, but always appreciate the sports and the connections that it created. But
what's funny, it's the same guys running the league. It's Johnny and
Mike
still out there, and their kids. It's the Forbes family, the Gator family still run. And grandkids, and they're still doing their thing to like get people out, like you said, like getting out in front of a TV and like getting out playing and just like forming community.
It's crazy too, because like I played high school basketball, and like for my freshman and sophomore year, I played in EBYBL too when I wasn't supposed to. Sorry, Coach Brown.
Yeah. We all
but
did. Everybody did.
Well, the thing about it was, a lot of the times it was, I don't want to say more competitive, but taken more seriously than like a high school game, right? Because you're playing against,
people that you're gonna see.
You got kids from the Point playing against kids from the Heights. You got kids from Eagle, like what I mean. So it's like everyone wanted to beat each other for no reason, just for the sole fact, like when you went to that part of the neighborhood, you were like, yeah, I remember I beat you in EBYBL.
Yeah.
So it was just like that competitive like nature, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. You know how many times people try to come up the top lawn and take the court, and we just had to play him for the court. It's what it was.
I mean, Kev, you were 15. You were still telling me about the time you beat my team.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And you were 15 years old. So.
Yeah, I mean, that was also my career high in single game.
It was a good game. It was an amazing game.
Oh,
Bobby
man.
was on that team that lost too.
Shout out Mike Nastari because he was the defender of the year for my team.
Yeah, but also you gotta shout out.
I was like Nastari, go cover the best player on that team.
But shout out Bobby Fish, man. A lot of throwback times with you guys' cousin Bobby. But EBYBL experience, was absolutely crazy, and the way that your family kind of got that, initiated and just continued that throughout the years, like something that I even have to, drop just from, having that connection, like. After everything happened, with my dad back in the day, like I was able to go see a Celtics finals game in 07. But that was absolutely, a crazy experience. And that was my first finals game. I just went to one in June. We took Danielle for her birthday. They got smoked by Golden State, but it's all good. It was definitely a memorable experience. But we're gonna get into sports now.
Absolutely.
all of things that get us connected. And Pino, we were going back and forth. We were in the restaurant talking about, the fantasy championship scenario. Year. It was a bad year, Pino. I remember as soon as you got your results for what was going down to your champion, you tagged me in the Sandbox group, and you were like, I'm a co-champion. And then, 20 minutes later, it was now I lost. Yeah. So there were so many people that, really dealt with that. I'm technically a co-champion with Chris DeGrady, so shout out to Chris. Just want to talk about, your championship.
So I was in two championship games this year. I had one game where I needed 15 points in a non-PPR league out of Isaiah McKenzie to win, which wasn't happening. But I got 0 because the game didn't finish. So I'll tell everyone forever I had a chance.
Yeah. There you go.
In the other league, I had Jamar Chase, I had Joe Burrow, and I had the Bengals kicker. And I needed 19, and it's a PPR league.
Yeah, that would have been.
So, that's in the bag as far as I'm concerned.
It was.
And, they stopped the Bills game. We're texting our group chat. I'm like, they shouldn't play. The guys, obviously, this is more serious than football. Yeah. We should not play. DeMar Hamlin's, fighting for his life, whatever. I was like, but they should play next week. Yeah. And everybody's like, oh, we'll see. And for a while in our group chat, it was like, all right, you're going to be co-champions with John DiMarino. And I was like, all right, fine, whatever. And then just one day they were like, oh, by the way, they're not playing no game, so you get nothing. Yeah, you're second place.
Some bullshit.
Like, what? It's like so that league. I had the title 2 years ago. I lost it. I had to hand it to somebody. We have a title belt that goes back and forth.
Yeah.
I had to hand it to somebody last year, and I thought I was getting it back. I'm sitting there I'm sending messages to the group chat with my drink and my I got 2 other belts hanging on the wall that are just belts I have because they're fun.
Yeah.
And I'm showing them the spot where I'm going to hang the other belt. I'm like, it's going to be here. And then 6 minutes into the game, it's over. And I'm like, oh, my God.
Listen, if it's any help to your fantasy reputation as a Bills fan, I'll gladly say that. McKenzie probably would have put up 15 points.
Yeah, exactly. Non-PPR. This
fan.
dude's getting 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. No PPR. But so it was I had a good season as far as I'm concerned. 3 leagues, I made 2 finals. I'm happy. But I could have had 2 wins here.
I know.
It's all right.
That's so tough.
I'm over it, kind of.
Yeah, I hear you. Until next season comes around and you're just like,
I told him, I texted him, I'm never losing this league again. I'm winning every year from now on.
But Kev says that, too. Kev says every year the Bills are going to the Super Bowl. This year's my year for fantasy.
If you saw how my fantasy year played out this year, you would retire. I should retire.
Any football player, NFL player that you would single-handedly blame your fantasy season on?
Michael Pittman.
Yeah.
More importantly, Matt Ryan, because he stinks.
Yeah.
Michael Pittman the ball.
So what do you got to say to Lou about 2 Colts on that list?
Listen, I don't like to speak upon Lou because he's not here. I don't like to talk behind his back, but I know he's listening. Lou, I don't know what the hell you're thinking. That team is so bad. From the GMs to the
owner, Jim Irsay,
quarterback, even the water boy. The water boy's not even good. All he has to do is get water.
Right. Yeah.
He's probably bringing them Dasani or Aquafina, not even Poland Springs, so I don't know.
Oh, God. We got no idea what's in that Indianapolis water. But, Pino, you're also in a fantasy league with Teddy Bruschi. So I want you to look in that camera. Did you whip Teddy Bruschi's butt this year in fantasy football?
No. So I'll actually tell you what happened with Teddy this year. I was up against him going into the late games on Sunday, and he got 52 points from the Cleveland defense.
Oh, my God.
And just
I had them going.
Demolished me. I thought I was all set because I'm like, oh, yeah, he's just got the Cleveland defense. Smoked me and text me after the game. Defense wins championships.
Of course, Teddy Bruschi.
And I'm sitting there I'm
him of all people.
And my wife works for his foundation. Yep. She's like, her part-time job is for his foundation. I'm like, I know he's your boss, but am I allowed to talk shit right now? Because I'm very upset. And she was like, no, you got to chill. And I just sent him a thumbs up emoji and kept moving.
Man.
But I was just like, this is not good. It's
man.
But it's like guy was like my hero when I was a teenager. So I can't say nothing.
Teddy Pino is coming for you next year. Oh shit. But Pino, just to continue, the sports conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
We know that you're heavily invested in football, but you also love basketball. So I just want you to share, your favorite Boston sports memory.
Yeah.
And then, either your favorite athlete from Boston or just your favorite athlete in general.
So I got a bunch of good memories tied to the Sox and the Celts. I got to witness the 2008 title with my brother. We got the season ticket, and we ended up getting lucky enough to, in our draw of our friends that we pulled them from, we got to go to the final game in 2008, and just like seeing a championship with my brother beside, it was just like, it was amazing. Yeah. That's still one of those memories. Like, I can picture everything. I can see the confetti going off over the stadium.
You take any confetti home?
Oh yeah, we took everything home. We were trying to rip the seats out of the place. So it was amazing. Like, the place was full of smoke because everybody's lighting up victory cigars in memory of Red Auerbach and everything. So that was an amazing one. In 2004, I got to go to a World Series game with my mom and my brother. That was huge for us because my dad, passed in 2003, and he was a huge Sox fan. He was obsessed with the Sox, and for us to go see them win a championship like a year after he passed was amazing. My mom was like, she was like, we gotta go. Yeah. And we're looking on eBay. I'm buying tickets from like it wasn't even like they couldn't email them to you back then. It was like you show up in like sketchy like hotel room, and the guy's got tickets laid out. It's like, here you go. But it was an amazing memory. One of my first dates with my wife was an AFC playoff game, Pats versus Colts. And what's funny is, I met her at BU when we were freshmen, and for like 3-4 years, I was like, oh, you want to go out? You want to go? And she's like, I don't know. But finally, after we graduated, we started dating, and like one of the first dates we went on was a playoff game in the snow, Pats Colts, and I was like,
is this Manning?
This was Manning Brady. I mean, this was like 2004.
Wow.
So I'm sitting here like, this is going to be great. We're going to have a great time. It's snowing. It's like -2. She's freezing. I gave her my Pats, because she's from New Jersey. She don't have a Pats jersey. I was like, hey, you can wear my white Brady jersey. I'll wear the blue one. Everything's going to be fine. There you go. She leaned over the fire that we had at the tailgate and lit my jersey on fire, so my white Brady jersey burned. So like, we're walking to the stadium. I'm like, damn, I tried to date this girl for 4 years. It's not going great.
She just burned my Tom Brady jersey.
And we go in, and the Pats win. There was a forced fumble by Brewski to win the game, which I told him about like 10 years later. I was like, thanks, you helped me out. Yeah, and, we won the game, and everything was awesome. We partying afterwards. So it was, but it's just a cool memory. I also proposed to her on the scoreboard at Fenway, which is like the corny thing to do. But like in 2004, 2005, the Sox were like the thing. It was cool. Yeah. So, it's just, some cool memories we got. But
that's awesome.
As far as like an all-time favorite athlete, it's Pedro Martinez.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't expecting baseball from you.
No, but I loved Pedro. When I used to work at the Salesians when I was like, like 18, 19, 20, we would get the paper. You looked at the paper. It wasn't even on a phone yet. So like, we'd get the paper at lunch break. We'd be looking to see who's the probable pitcher tonight, and it was Pedro. We would get out of work at like 6 and just go over to Fenway and wait for the scalpers to be done selling tickets, and they'd have like 2-3 left. They'd be like, I'll give you $10 for them. It's like the second inning. They're
trying to scalp the scalpers.
And we just wait till like the second inning, and we get in and see like 2 innings, 3 innings of Pedro before he's done. But it was just like, it was amazing, So like, I loved Pedro. My dog was named Pedro that I had in college. It was just awesome. A couple years ago, actually this year too, I got to work his Feast with 45 at Fenway. Okay. Which, this being in the cooking industry and being in Boston, it's like one of these things that you make those connections and get to do it. Chef Nick Callius was the guy who linked me up with it, and we did his charity dinner. I mean, his charity, like you buy a ticket and then you get to go like take bites from a bunch of different restaurants. So it's a cool thing, and it raises money for Pedro's foundation. They do stuff in the Dominican, they do stuff in Boston. And we saw Pedro there, and I'm sitting here like, I can't wait to meet Pedro again, because I met him once before at the other year, but like this year I'm sitting there, I'm like, I got stuff for him to sign. I'm going to tell him stories. I'm going to tell him my dog was named after him. And he comes around the corner, and he's got a whole entourage of people following him. And he's got one guy with a Bluetooth speaker over his head playing salsa music. So when he walks up to you, he don't walk up to you. He dances up to you. And I'm like, this is amazing. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Pedro's dancing up to you with the music playing. I don't even know what it was. It was some old salsa song, but he's just like, he's dancing up. He's like, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Oh, man.
And he's like, you like my shirt? I got a new shirt. I'm like, Pedro, I love your shirt, buddy.
I'll take it right off your chest.
You want.
So, trash bag.
So it's just like, just like those little things, like where I can be thankful for like what my career has brought me, and like, being able to give back and also have fun doing it.
Yeah.
So, it's another just awesome memory.
Oh, man. That's awesome. Incredible to hear that. I mean, that's all insight that we never heard. So definitely appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, Pino, we're going to take this a little bit more toward the Celtics side. I know you're a huge basketball guy.
Love them.
Do the Boston Celtics this year have what it takes to bring home Banner 18?
100%. I've been trying to go to the Encore to place the bet, and every time I get out of work, they're closed already.
Yeah.
Because I get out of work at like 2 in the morning, and you want to feel like a DJ. Pull into the Encore parking lot, and the sportsbook says closed. You're too late. That's how you feel like a total degenerate when you're like, wow, all right, I'm the guy who wants to place a bet when the casino's like,
closed.
We're good.
Yeah, legit.
So I'm gonna get down there eventually and like put down the bet for them to win. But I definitely think they got it. They're unbelievable on defense, which like Teddy will tell you, defense wins championships. But they got the scoring punch. They got Tatum's having an MVP year. Brown's having like one of those years where he's trying to show everybody like where he stands on the NBA pecking order. It's just unbelievable. Yeah. I think they got Williams back. They tightened up the offense. The defense is like unbelievable right now. They having stretches, slides here and there, but that happens midseason to everybody.
Yeah.
I think they got it. Denver's going to be a tough out if they get to reach them in the finals. Milwaukee's obviously tough as hell. Philly's tough as hell, but I think they got it. They got the talent and they got the work ethic to beat everybody. The new coach, if he learns how to call timeouts, we're good. Otherwise, like he's got them grooving. So I don't have a problem with it.
No, absolutely. I mean, since you brought up the Gen, I texted in a group chat with my brother and my cousins yesterday. I told him I bet the AC Milan game, and I took Milan, and he was like, "Talk about the Gen."
Yeah,
it's like betting afternoon Italian soccer. It's like I can't say I haven't been there, but it's like it's something.
Oh man, but. Just back to the Celtics. I had to toss that in real quick. How does this team compare to 08? Obviously, you had the Paul Pierce. You had the KG. I mean, Rondo might be one of the most underrated players a part of any sort of championship team, altogether. But you talked about it. I mean, Jason Tatum is, I don't want to say, the front runner. Jokic is practically averaging a triple-double.
Video game numbers. It makes no sense.
But I do think that, the NBA might want to see, a different person win the MVP, and I feel like Tatum really has, a fair chance at that. And, how does this team really compare to 08?
So 08 to me was like when they that was the first year of that group being together. So, when they traded for Ray Allen, we all thought, like, all right, maybe they're doing something here. They can make a little push for the playoffs. So they didn't even make the playoffs the year before. They were terrible.
Yeah.
And they traded for Ray Allen. They got, like, all right, Ray and Paul can work together. One could be the shooter. One could be the facilitator. One could drive. One could make these pop-up jumpers. But, like, they were still missing something. When they added Garnett, we all were like, they're winning everything. Instantly, we're like, this is unbelievable. Because Garnett's a culture changer.
Absolutely.
Like, Pierce is an unbelievable player, historic NBA player. But Garnett, the mentality and, like, the defense, everything that he brought to the table was, like, just a whole game changer.
It was.
So I love that team, but I went from not knowing they existed because it wasn't a big three to loving them in like an hour.
Yeah.
This team I really love because I've watched them come up from like teenagers.
And grow, yeah.
Like they all got drafted as teenagers. Like I was at the draft party when they drafted Jaylen Brown, and I remember booing when they picked Jaylen Brown because they spent the whole week before telling us they were trading that pick for Jimmy Butler or Paul George.
Yeah, I know.
I couldn't be happier.
That too, but...
Could not be happier that they got Jaylen Brown.
No,
now.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was like, no, this is terrible.
Yeah,
Who's this guy? I don't know anybody from West Coast College. I'm not staying up that late to watch those. So I'm sitting here like, what are these guys going to do? And like over the years, watching them grow and get better, watching Smart turn into like a defensive juggernaut, and actually start to be like a facilitator as a point guard. Watching Tatum become like one of the elite scorers in the league. Watching Brown become, an elite scorer and an elite defender. It's like, it's unbelievable. So like, I feel like almost like if they win a championship here, I might remember this team more fondly than 08 just because of how it came together. Like this is all homegrown talent, home built. Right. They've been working with these guys for years, and seeing them raise a trophy and like win a championship after 5-6 years of getting closer and closer and closer every year. They went from like Eastern Conference Finals to finally making the finals last year to finally winning it. I think I'll probably have more memories. Now I got memories of my kids too. Like my kids know who Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are.
Yeah.
If I told them Paul Pierce was great, they're like, all right, yeah, that guy, you got the jersey
plus,
hanging on the wall.
Like you said, I feel like, like you said with the 08 team, as soon as they made those trades, it was like, all right, it's over. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Even Kevin McHale on the phone with Grossbeck when he traded Garnett was like, congrats on winning the NBA championship.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think just obviously, we had the whole Kyrie situation. I feel like especially after that, people were kind of like, all right, like
what's gonna happen?
What's gonna happen here? Like, is Tatum that good? Even I was one of those guys. I was like, is Tatum the guy? And
so would you say he's better than Brown at this point?
I still don't know. I'm still skeptical about it.
I mean, Tatum's better than Brown.
Yeah.
That's obvious. but
I just like the intensity.
But I don't want
that
Brown out at all. Like
no,
they were talking about Brown being traded for Durant, and I was like, just keep Brown.
But it's just,
I was like, you got the guy, and that's that whole sense of like you got the guy who's grown with you, who's built this like thing with you, like
make
it.
And it's like this is a team, like you said, like Smart has gotten tremendously better since he's been in the league. You know what I mean? Jaylen Brown has gotten tremendously better. Even Tatum. I mean,
they
Tatum
made one another
coming
better.
out was the best of the three, but he's gone so much better. And the fact that we've watched that and just seen like them grow into the players they are is awesome. Because like you said, when we got Garnett, he was already a superstar. Ray Allen was already a superstar.
Yep.
Paul Pierce was right on that cusp. You know what I mean?
I mean, he was a multi-time
All-Star. I feel like he was
like,
slept on though, just because he was on the Celtics. But the fact that this team just figured it out and is playing how they're playing is crazy to me.
I think Pierce might be better in my head than you guys because I remember like the 2002 playoffs, like when he made that insane comeback before you got like you guys might have been like 5.
Listen, if you can go toe to toe with Kobe in the NBA Finals,
it was
and,
amazing.
Like, talk shit and
LeBron the week before.
Yeah,
he was going
honestly
toe to LeBron the week before that.
And
I feel like
LeBron too,
I feel like Pierce. I don't want to say like little brother to LeBron, but it was always cool to know that Pierce always brought that clutch factor.
Absolutely.
Like that's one of the like David Ortiz is clutch when it comes to baseball, but like the fact that we had Ortiz and Paul Pierce in the same era at the same time.
34.
That's what I'm saying. That
and Tom Brady. I know
Yeah,
you guys
it's a
aren't
whole-
Pats fans,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
I
yeah.
don't understand how you guys aren't Pats fans when you grew up in the era you did.
Well, I
You know,
was,
but like,
Yeah.
you know.
Then Kev went to Jay Cutler after that, and then the Miami Dolphins because Brandon Marshall was there, and now he's with the Buffalo
Yeah, when
Bills.
it comes to football, I'm more of a player guy.
I was gonna say you can be a guy who likes players
That's why I love
over the
Bills.
laundry.
I love
It's all
Josh
right.
Allen.
But I gotta say, I don't know if you know this, Pino, but my first favorite player in the NFL was Tiki Barber. So that's where my love for the Giants comes. And then obviously I was really young at the time, and when we had Eli Manning, I mean, we're talking about Earth, Wind, and Fire at the running back, and Brandon Jacobs, Ware, and Ahmad Bradshaw, and then the defensive studs, Justin Tuck, Strahan, Usiu Minura. I mean, you're talking, like
they even had good backups like Matthias Kiwanuka.
That's what I'm saying.
It was like everybody was good.
Wow, that's another throwback. Hey, I'm glad you said that, Pino. But
the BC guy.
Yeah, absolutely. But if we come down to, for the Celtics, right? If we come down to a 5-on-5, and we're talking about the current Celtics teams in that 08 team, are you guys giving the edge to 08? I feel like
I'm
it's
gonna
tough.
give the edge to 08.
What era are we playing in? Like rules wise?
Today's basketball.
Well, today's basketball right now has the shooters.
Yeah.
Because they had Ray and Pierce to a point, but Pierce was much more interested in taking the ball to the basket. I give the 08 Celtics the edge at point guard. Rondo was so under. Every time they were on national TV, he put up. I was
saying that to him the other night because he had asked me. I was like, Rondo, in my eyes, I mean, he doesn't have the numbers, but just the point guard position, I feel like he's
still
one of the
first
most
in the
underrated.
Celtics triple doubles.
Oh yeah, probably.
You
But I'm
know?
saying like overall point guards of all time, but he's gonna be one of the most underrated. I mean, he was having nights where he was putting up 2 points, 21 assists, and like 15 rebounds. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
so, Pino, I asked Kev, and feel free to share your opinion.
Sure.
I mean, you saw a lot of basketball greats, and it's tough. Like, obviously, if you consider, the Magics, the LeBrons, and whoever else, but I feel like this is really a category that Rondo can actually be in. Would you consider Rondo to be, the best passing point guard of all time? In consideration. Obviously, you don't have to deem the title, but
I'm not going to say that Rondo's the best passing point guard of all time. No, this guy's better than him. I mean, still playing Chris Paul was his contemporary and is still going and still making, like, crazy assist totals every year.
Yeah.
Steve Nash was an unbelievable passer.
Jay Williams.
Yeah.
Jay Williams. Jay Williams was a showboat passer, but he didn't have the assist totals that were else. But he was an unbelievable ball handler, unbelievable passer. But, I mean, I seen Stockton play.
I know. Yeah,
I see Magic Johnson towards the end of his career. Like, there's guys who like transcend eras, and Rondo's in his generation. He's like top 3-4, but I don't think he's in the all-time.
No, that's fair.
You know?
And Kev had said the same thing. I was watching some highlights, just scrolling through the feed, and I was just like, wow, like those are things that we actually saw, like with our own two eyes. And obviously, it's more relevant for you. You saw a lot more greats in the NBA play, but just keeping this Celtics conversation going, right? The bench. I feel like we also have to consider the bench when we're comparing these teams too, and a large part of why the Celtics won in 08 is because you had, clutch play from Eddie House and Big Baby
James
Davis.
Posey.
That's what I'm saying. Like they had, like, we're talking about guys that
Leon
probably
Cole
could.
that's
what I'm saying. Like guys that couldn't probably sniff, the NBA today that made such an impact, but I feel like, the bench we have today, I mean, like Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon, I mean, these guys are starters on almost any other team in the NBA. Yeah. So, like, how would you guys compare, the benches of those two teams?
So the bench, like you guys said, the guys who have the dog in them, that whole bench was that.
Right.
And those guys have made, like, a career in basketball over
being
the 08 champs.
Yeah.
Nobody has made more out of one championship than the guys in the 08 Celtics. Like, Kendrick Perkins on TV every day, all day.
God.
Eddie House is on TV locally now. Yeah. It's amazing. But, like, those guys were clutch. They knew the role they were expected to do. And I think a big part of that was, like, Garnett as the leader of the team, like, pushing everybody to do what they do.
And I'll tell you, since you mentioned Eddie House, it was funny because this is how I know the demographic in Boston's changing. So I'm sitting by home plate over the summer with a couple of my coworkers from the base. Now, obviously, I'm a big basketball guy, so when anyone walks by me, I'm going to know. I see this guy walking by like 3-4 times. He gets out of his seat. And, I'm like, I was like, I don't know why, but I feel like that's Eddie House.
Yeah.
And I even said it's Sam Steves. I said it to Sam. I was like, I think that's Eddie House. He doesn't know who it is. So, again, he walks by me. He walks by me, like, just going back to his seat, and I'm like, hey, Eddie. And he turns around. And I'm just like, I'm a huge fan, bro. And he was like, thank you. But I'm just like, imagine, like, being at Fenway and, like, not knowing who Eddie House is. Like, not that he was
Call
crazy,
Sam Steves.
He's not Jason Tatum, but, like, still, he was an energy bringer for that team. He was, every time he got in, we were waiting to see how many threes he was chucking up. You know what I mean? And I was like, how does no one recognize him?
I always think it's so funny though, because when you have a room or a conversation and you bring like Paul Pierce and Garnett into the conversation, you have like the camaraderie between like Brian Scalabrine and Eddie House. They always kind of like little brother them because they were like the bench guys on the team and stuff like that. But my next topic over here is the Super Bowl, but Kev, I know you have some basketball questions before we get to the Super Bowl, so feel free to dive in.
Yeah, so I'm just going to dive right in. Pino, this is a conversation me and you have had over Facebook. And listen, you're part of the bloodline, so you can already imagine when Uncle Jimmy and Uncle Bobby and Uncle Brian and the Sinatra boys are together, this is a hot topic.
Of course.
LeBron or Jordan? I'm just going to get right to it.
All right, so
or Kobe.
But LeBron or Jordan?
For me, being a 40-year-old guy, if I don't say Jordan, there's going to be like 3 guys waiting outside to fight me afterwards. But at this day and age, like looking at what they bring to the table, like LeBron had 0 scandals his whole career. Mm-hmm. LeBron is doing like unbelievable charity work everywhere. So like outside of basketball, it's LeBron. Yeah. Okay, inside of basketball, LeBron's a better passer. He makes his teammates better. But if I'm talking one game, who do I want on my team? I'm never going to say anybody but Michael Jordan.
Not even Kobe, huh?
No.
Or Bird?
No. Michael Jordan. No, Bird's one of my all-time favorite athletes. I love him. But, like, the stuff that I saw Jordan do against the guys I saw him do, like, there's Patrick Ewing don't have a title. Charles Barkley don't have a title. Karl Malone don't have a title. Like, these are, like, all-time players.
Because of Jordan.
Because Jordan just won every title. And when he didn't win, Olajuwon won 2, and then he came back and was like, I'll just take the next 3, too.
Yeah.
So, like, back then, it was just, like, it's tough to say how much he, like, dominated. Mm-hmm. It's tough to, like, put into words. But watching LeBron now, he's doing the same things. He's dominating. Less so now. He's at the end of his career. But, like, the years that he was doing it, he was dominating the league just like Jordan was. Mm-hmm. So I don't even like to say, like, oh, Jordan's better, LeBron's better. they're both so unbelievable.
Right.
It's hard to categorize. But like for me, yeah, I'm gonna say Michael Jordan all the time. I mean, I grew up watching him.
Love that, Pino. Love that. And I respect, LeBron. And if you want to say LeBron, Jordan, or Kobe are the greatest, like I'm not gonna sit here and argue with you because you have fair arguments for all of them. You know what I mean? I like in a conversation with Kevin Lou was always the odd man out because I would always sit here and say Jordan. It's just like they're gonna sit here and tag team me with the stats and all that, but I'm like,
LeBron's a better passer. LeBron's a better like part of a team.
Yeah.
Jordan was a better defender. Jordan was a better clutch scorer. But there's nothing that either of them don't do at an elite level.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's tough to like even say.
Yeah.
No, it absolutely is.
I'm glad I was like in a generation that I could watch both of them in their primes.
Yeah, for sure. And like I was just mentioning, it's tough because Jordan obviously did, the deep dive into baseball with the White Sox, did the retirement hiatus, went to the Wizards and all that. And it's just like, if he was consistent with his career, kind of like LeBron was, like I know he's hopped around to different places, went to Miami, went back to Cleveland, now with the Lakers, like all that stuff. He's still playing basketball. If Jordan did that for that amount of time, like I'm sure the records would have piled up like a lot more. Not that he doesn't have like enough already, you know what I mean? But
well, the rumors with Jordan that he was told to step away and go play baseball,
Right?
Because of gambling scale.
Yeah.
So like it's like that's another like knock against him to me.
Yeah.
But
sure.
it's tough to pick one. They're both unbelievable.
All right, guys, we're getting into the Super Bowl. We are less than a week away from the biggest game of the year. We got the Chiefs. We got the Eagles. Pino, I'm riding with the Chiefs. Kev's riding with the Chiefs. I personally can't root for the Eagles as a Giants fan. I was shocked that Kev was going to pick, rooting for Pat Mahomes, especially as a Josh Allen guy. But would love to know, your thoughts for the game and just some expectations.
So, yeah, I mean, to me, I hate rooting for the Eagles because they're one of the few teams that beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. So I'm like, those are just teams that I hate forever.
Yeah, legit.
It's like Eagles, Giants, Bears, just I don't want to hear from them. Packers, ever. So, it's tough for me to say this, but I think the Eagles got this one.
Do you?
Yeah, like Hurts is like having one of those years where it's like Mahomes had when he won it. It's like there's some certain times where a player just can't be denied. And I think he's got the tools around him. It's like there's those little windows for a team when you have a player, a quarterback who's on his rookie contract or on like that, kind of halfway there contract where they're not the elite star yet, where you can load up the roster with guys around him. And he's got, Brown, he's got Devontae Smith, he's got Goddard, he's got like so many weapons. Even like the running back. I know they're on their secondary running back, Gainwell, but Gainwell's playing unbelievable. Yeah. They got the kid Boston Scott's like the beef back, like just pushing through, Legit. So like they have all the tools. They got a good old line.
Defense is crazy.
The defense is unbelievable. The kid Jones is like dominating the line of scrimmage, and that's like that's something you need in the Super Bowl. So the biggest thing to me too is like Mahomes has been there. We all know he's got the experience. He's got the smarts. Like you can look at him and like, oh yeah, he's great because he's athletic. He's one of the smartest quarterbacks I've seen play. Like he knows when to run. He knows when to throw. He knows when to do. Like if he was just limited to pocket passer for the rest of his career, he'd still be elite.
Yeah, you're right.
But with his ankle the way it is, like we don't know what situation he's going to be in. If he's going to be able to, like he might say that, oh, this is where I run because he's got the smarts to do it, but not be able to make that run.
Yeah.
So
that ankle,
so just any kind of like tiny disadvantage can cost you in the Super Bowl.
No,
so
for sure.
This is like the game of their life for the guys on both sides.
Yeah.
You expecting it to be a close game?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm thinking like mid-range scoring, like a 28-24 kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
Not crazy high scoring, but like, some moments to get up and cheer for.
Are you excited about Rihanna at the halftime?
Sure.
Yeah.
Rihanna was responsible for like half the club bangers of my generation. Like,
I said this is probably going to be the most watched Super Bowl just because people are going to want to watch Rihanna.
Do you know how excited
how
we all
many girls
were?
are going to watch the Super Bowl just to see the Rihanna halftime?
Yeah.
Show,
You know how excited my generation was when they bought Dr. Dre and
Oh,
Eminem?
my God.
I know.
Like they
Seriously.
keep.
That was a good one, though.
See,
I like
for
that.
years we were like watching the Super Bowl and they'd bring back like like the Who or whatever, and we're like, oh, they're catering to the old guys. And then like a couple years ago, they were like, oh, we're bringing back Dr.
then
Dre.
they bring, who
and
was
I'm
the
sitting
other
here
one?
like, oh, they're
J-Lo
finally
and,
getting like people the young people wanted. I'm talking to like my little cousins and stuff, and they're like, they're catering to the old guys. I'm like, oh, damn, I'm the old guys.
Yeah, now.
It took me a minute to realize it, but like,
shit.
like Rihanna's on. My wife's all excited. I'm like, yeah, we're the old guys.
Oh,
All right,
man.
whatever.
That's too funny.
Pino, what is your favorite Super Bowl memory?
Probably, this is gambling related because it's ridiculous.
It's all good.
But the year that the Pats beat the Eagles, it was like an oddball score. It was like 32-29.
Yeah.
And I had like a 2-9 Super Bowl square.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
And I had a future for the Pats to win the whole thing. So that hit me the last game. The last square of the game, which was like, it's like $800. I was like hyped out of my mind.
Take that.
And then I realized I won the future bet too, and I was just like, "This is amazing!" Let's just do dumb stuff the rest of the week, but like just stuff like that. Like, I mean, watching the Super Bowl they won against Carolina was like the last sports that I watched with my dad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because he passed away in 2003. I'm sorry, no, so it wasn't even that Super Bowl. It was a Super Bowl against the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
He passed away in 2003. That was like the last that was the only championship we saw together.
Yeah.
Right.
Because so like Tom Brady, like when he retired last week, I was like, damn, this is like the last connection.
Yeah.
For like way back,
tough.
but it's
tough.
but it's awesome. It's awesome to just be able to remember those things and like hold on to those memories.
Cherish
And,
it.
I watched like my kid never met my dad. He died before they were born.
Yeah.
So like I watched Tom Brady win a Super Bowl with my dad. I watched Tom Brady win a Super Bowl with my kids. Sports can be like that connection, so it's really cool for me, it's just stuff like that.
No, that's awesome. And obviously, for me, like as a Giants fan, my favorite Super Bowl memories obviously being 2-0 against the Pats in the Super Bowl and witnessing, some of the you literally came into the room and saw the passes on the wall.
Witnessing some of the most absurd,
and I'm a
Buffalo
Bills fan, so I have yet to have a favorite Super Bowl memory.
Yeah, right. Legit.
But we'll talk about that at a different time.
But Kev, I know you have a couple more questions for Pino before we wrap.
Yeah, so tying it back, obviously, into the community thing, born and raised in East Boston, back in a time when East Boston looked a lot different, especially, in the area where Cunard is and the area you grew up. There's, obviously a lot of development.
Yeah.
A lot of, shifts in demographics. Feel like it's a lot more of a, I don't want to say college town, but a lot more of a younger, not
definitely
family
Oriented,
tied, crowd. How do you feel about that for the future of East Boston? Do you feel like it's a good thing? Do you feel like it's a bad thing? Does it sometimes make you miss the way East Boston used to be? Or
I mean, there's definitely things I miss. There's definitely things I like about the way it is now.
Yeah.
I like to tell people it's not worse, it's not better, it's different.
Right.
Yeah.
So we can hang on to the things we loved about the old stuff and complain about them not being gone, or we can like pass them on to the new people.
Yeah.
So I like to try to push things in like a positive direction. Like, I mean, I could talk as much trash as I want. I moved out.
Right.
I moved out of East because I couldn't afford it to raise kids there, so I moved out and bought a house somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those places where like we have all this. You have the memories of the community when you were young. You have them. Like we can either just lock them up and not share them with the new people, or like try to bring the new people into the fold and say like, hey, this is the way we used to do things. This is why we made it a great community.
Yeah.
If you guys want to be in this with us or not, So yeah, there's definitely changes. I mean, it's tough to keep up if you're like, trying to raise a family there, or like it's just not easy.
Feasible.
Yeah, it's so like I always used to tell like the guys coming, I'm like, you guys are like the last generation of like Eastie kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because like the way that I remember.
That's an honor, Pino.
You know what I mean? So it's like because there's less people having kids there now.
Right.
Yeah.
It's younger people using it as like a hangout spot and then moving on to the next cool neighborhood, but it doesn't mean it can't be the community that it always was. It's kind of on us.
Mm-hmm.
To keep it that way or make it that way, and like say to the people who do come in with kids, like everybody's good. There's different generations, different kids, so maybe it ain't basketball anymore. Maybe it's soccer. Maybe it's baseball. We don't know. Like
maybe it's podcasting.
Maybe it's podcasting. Whatever's the thing you can use to like bring people together. There's tons of little kids that like I worked at the Salesians for the last couple of years, like doing like cooking and stuff. And like, there's still tons of kids there.
Yeah.
They're just doing different stuff than we remembered.
That's right.
So it's like there's still community to build. It's just on us to like find the way into people, find the way to connect people, and keep it going from there.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's actually funny you say that too, because my girlfriend obviously is from Chicago. She just moved here last year, and she tells me all the time she was a flight attendant. She's been all over, and she always tells me, she's like, I've never been anywhere like East Boston before. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's East Boston specifically, not even Boston, because.
She's never seen people living together that have known each other for 20 plus
years.
I
was telling her, like, when we went on our first date, like, we were, like, obviously asking about living arrangements and things like that, and I was like, oh, yeah, I live with, like, two of my friends that I went to preschool with, and she was like, what? She was like, I don't even know I don't even talk to anyone I went to high school with, so it's just, like, the East Boston Central Catholics of the world, the Salesians of the world, the EBYBLs of the world. I feel like those are things that make Eastie special. And obviously, every community has those schools.
Or the Dom Savios.
Yeah, or the Dom even the Dom Savios, big part of my family. But I feel like it's so funny, even going around other parts of Boston, people are always like, yeah, like I've never experienced anything like Eastie before. And I feel like some of that's still alive too today. Obviously, everyone that lives in East Boston is gonna let you know they live in East Boston, whether
Right.
they're from here or not.
Yeah.
They say, yeah, I'm from East Boston.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, what's Dozy's then?
Yeah, exactly. What's those? Or you know, my check.
Now I want a
Yeah,
breakfast
yeah.
and a spaghetti. All right.
Yeah, right.
But no, I'm glad you said that.
My Eastie check is always, you know, the Paris Street Boys and Girls Club. Like, if
Yeah.
you don't know
Yeah,
the Paris
OG.
Street Boys and Girls Club,
The
then
rims were on the brick wall.
you're
and
too
they didn't have
young, bro.
backboards.
Yeah, right, legit.
Yeah, but you could step up off the brick wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. That's way too funny.
I asked all the guests this. Obviously, you know, we talked about sports memories and stuff like that, but you were an athlete growing up, right? Dom Savio,
a
basketball, EBL.
Right.
What was your favorite memory as an athlete growing up? And that can be, you know, a specific, you know, team. Maybe it was a team you played with. Maybe it was, you know, a certain game, a certain thing that happened in a game. But what was your favorite memory growing up?
So, I mean, for me, when I was a little kid, I remember playing baseball and basketball with my dad as the coach.
Yeah.
And we always had, like, my dad, Johnny Forbes, Mike Gator. They were always involved in the community. When I finished, my dad passed away, my brother and I kind of took over coaching the Panthers in that league. Yeah. And one of the first years, it was 2006, and I was coaching a group of kids, and I still, like, keep in touch with a bunch of them to this day. And we won a championship, like, playing with the Panthers.
Yeah.
And when that happened, a bunch of the guys who used to play for my dad, who were like anywhere from like 20 to like 40 years old, they played for him over like 25 years before that.
Yeah.
They showed up to like watch this game. My mom
awesome.
like called a bunch of them and said, "Hey, the Panthers are the championship, whatever." And it was just like saying like, "Okay, all right, maybe I can like be like," because you know, my dad's he's got a building named after him. It's like a tough legacy. It's like, is anyone going to even care that Anthony Pino exists when Bonnie Pino was so amazing?
Yeah.
And it's like, all I can try to do is like look at myself and say like, all right, what would he have done in this situation? What would make him proud? What was the way he would have did it? And just try to do that. And that, like, winning was never his thing. Like, he didn't really care if they won. But they used to win. But, like, when we won the championship and I looked at all those kids and they were, like, there was a couple kids on that team who were, like, elite athletes. Romario Santos.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
Shout out Rochi.
Shout out Rochi. Yeah. But, like, and then we had some kids who were, like, you know, Mets and Mets athletes, but they gave it their all. And just seeing them all like come together, like kids who wouldn't have been like buddies, if they weren't on that team together, like all like celebrating that championship. I was like, oh, this is it. I was like, it's not. It doesn't matter if we won the trophy or not. It's if these kids are high fiving each other after the game. So like, that's the best one for me. Like my personal playing career. I was just kind of there, like, you know, like you could ask your dad, like your dad and your uncles, like at Savio. If I got 8 points, it was because I got 4 offensive rebounds and putbacks. It wasn't running plays for me. Like this wasn't the situation. But like you know, I just always had fun with the game. I was a decent defender. I was a good rebounder, so I always had a spot on the team.
There you go.
But that didn't mean, you know, they was never putting my jersey up on the rafters. Okay.
Yeah. Oh man. Pino, before we wrap up, just want to give you the floor. You know, anything else that you'd like to add to the episode?
I want to thank you guys for having me on, man. It was a lot of fun. I was like, you know, this is the conversation we would have had
in Cunard.
If we weren't in front of the camera, we probably would have had the same conversation and laughed the same amount. So that's right. You know, it's a lot of fun. So like I said, come to Cunard Tavern, come to Pine Bar anytime.
Get the chicken and waffles.
Yeah. Come visit me whenever you want, and you know. If my predictions are bad, tell me. If my predictions are good, I'll tell you. And you know, it was awesome talking to you guys. I appreciate it.
No, Pino, it's always a pleasure, and you know, you've done so much, you know, for us in just the past couple of years, you know, with the can drive and the toy drive. So we always appreciate that. But above all, you know, the friendship is so important, right? We always want to keep, you know, these relationships in East Boston going, and just trying to, you know, reciprocate that Eastie feeling, that Eastie community,
for sure.
You know, impacts that we get with the Meridian markets, you know, and the Boys and Girls Clubs, the Pino Center. Me and Kev are still walking in the Pino Center on Thursday nights and playing wiffle ball.
Have you been in there at all in the last couple of years?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. The way the Celtics
that was
redid
the first time I was
in
there in like 3-4 years.
It was unreal. They did a great job. But yeah, I mean, it's awesome. Like just being back in my old community, like I said, you know, working for a guy who's like his grandfather had a wood shop there for 50 years before it was the restaurant.
That's gonna be nostalgic for you too. Like your dad's building getting redone with the Boston Celtics logo right on. Like you know what I mean? It's all coming.
It's unbelievable.
It's all tied.
You know, and like we still like I'm not there coaching anymore. But like working with the guy Phil who owns Cunard, like. We do a cornhole tournament every year, and he helps me. We raise money, and some of that money goes to the league. You know, so like there's other ways we can affect it. And, you know, and working for a guy who like sees that.
That's willing to do that.
Yeah, it's like not like working for a giant corporation.
Right,
it's
right,
like
right.
this guy wants to be part of the community and helps out too.
Absolutely. Me and Kev got to practice our cornhole to get there for next year.
Let's go.
But since the Sandbox fans, that's going to wrap things up for this Meet the People series episode with our friend, head chef Anthony Pino at Cunard Tavern. If you guys want to learn a little bit more about Pino, make sure you guys head to Cunard in East Boston. Get the chicken and waffles. Tell him since the Sandbox sent you. Peace, love, 5 stars. You guys know the deal. Peace out.